You have the floor, Excellency.
Greetings, Honorable Madam President. May I first begin by congratulating you on your election as the President of the 73rd session of the United Nations General Assembly on my personal behalf, as well as on the behalf of my country, India. As a woman, I feel doubly proud that you have this honor. I also recall with equal pride that the first woman to occupy this eminent chair was an Indian. In 1953, Mrs. Vijayalakshmi Pandit, during the 8th session, was the very first chairman of United Nations. I will also like to express my thanks and gratitude towards President Mr. Miroslav Lajrak for successfully conducting the 72nd session of the United Nations General Assembly. Madam President, we received a very bad news this morning that there was an earthquake and tsunami. Both these tragedies occurred at the same time. And from this forum, on behalf of my country, India, I would like to express deep condolences to the people and government of Indonesia. And at the same time, I would like to express assurance that India will cooperate in helping during this tragic time. Madam President, the United Nations is the world's premier multilateral organization, where nations seek balm for the wounds of history and a platform for solution, where less developed nations sit with their more fortunate brethren to formulate plans that can correct the skewed economic imbalance. In 2015, we established 2030 as a critically important horizon for 17 Sustainable Development Goals. A common refrain from 2015 has been that we will reach that horizon only if India finds its way to this destination. Otherwise, we shall fail. I assure this August gathering, through you, Madam, that India will not let you fail. We are totally committed to achieving these objectives for our own people. Under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi, India has initiated unprecedented economic and social transformation that will help India achieve its SDG goals much before time. I would like to offer you a few glimpses of evidence to illustrate what is the world's biggest exercise in poverty elimination and social transformation through the world's largest financial inclusion scheme named Jan Dhan Yojana, in which over 320 million Indians who had never even crossed the doors of a bank before now have bank accounts. This has enabled the poor to receive allotments from the government's welfare programs into their personal accounts through direct benefit transfers, which has now ended waste and corruption in the system. Similarly, world's biggest health insurance program, named as Ayushman Bharat, was launched by Prime Minister Modi a few days ago on 23rd September. This revolutionary scheme will benefit 500 million Indians who will get an insurance cover of rupees 500,000 per family per year. This will be a revolutionary scheme. We have a prayer in India, Madam, which says, Sarve Santu Nirmaya, which means all should be healthy. The Ayushman Bharat Yojana is the answer to this prayer. Similarly, we have launched the largest housing scheme in the world aimed at ensuring that everyone has a roof above their heads. Under the scheme, we have set ourselves a target of nearly 21 million homes by the year 2022. And so far, over 5 million homes for the poor have already been constructed. Similarly, 2 different effective schemes have also been initiated to raise the skill level of those waiting to be employed through skill development program and to turn the poor into entrepreneurs through the Mudra program. Here, I would like to stress that 140 million Indians have taken Mudra loans. The most significant aspect of Mudra scheme is that 76% of the beneficiaries are women. At the heart of Prime Minister Modi's transformative vision is a radical idea that the uplift of any nation is best achieved through the all-round empowerment of women. All the schemes that I have just spoken about have the welfare of women at their core. Last year, I spoke about Ujjwala scheme, in which I'm very happy to tell that under the Ujjwala scheme, 50 million free gas connections have been provided so far. Maternity benefit scheme is another such initiative in which in India, women get 26 weeks of paid leave to care for their newborn. Madam President, as a woman, you will understand better than most how vitally important this program is for every mother. In some developed nations with huge economies, they cannot offer more than 6 weeks of paid leave, leading to a continuing struggle for more time off. But in India, we have implemented what women across the world need. That is 26 weeks of paid leave. Madam President, in 2022, Free India will be 75 years old. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has pledged to build a new India by then. What kind of India will that be? That India will be clean India, healthy India, prosperous India, secure India, educated India, developed India, energized India, strong India. That is our horizon for the year 2022 for India, and we will reach that horizon. We are doing everything to meet that goal. Madam President, the challenges that are before the world, among them, climate change and terrorism are the biggest threats. The worst victims are being faced by the underdeveloped and developing nations. They have neither the capacity nor the resources to meet this crisis. Those countries that have exploited nature for their immediate needs cannot abdicate their responsibility. If we have to save the world from the adverse effect of the climate change, then developed nations must lift the deprived with financial and technical resources. The principle of common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities was reiterated in the 2015 Paris Agreement. Prime Minister Modi had come up with the Prime Minister of France to launch International Solar Alliance, and now 68 nations have become members of International Solar Alliance. And in March of this year, India and France chaired the founding conference of ISA, in which 120 countries participated. I'm very happy to tell you that Prime Minister Modi has been awarded for working in this field as champions in this field. Prime Minister Modi is also working for One Sun, One Grid, because he believes that if sun is one, then why not the universe be one? And if this is fulfilled, then in the field of energy, we will see there'll be a big revolution, and that will be a big way to tackle all the problems in the field of climate change. I had described, Madam President, that the second challenge is terrorism. which is the biggest existential threat to humanity. We imagined that the arrival of the 21st century would bring with it an age of common good defined by cooperation. But here in New York, the horrific tragedy of 9/11, and in Mumbai, the catastrophe of 26/11 became the nightmares that shattered our dreams. The demon of terrorism now stalks the world at a faster pace somewhere, slower pace elsewhere, but life-threatening everywhere. In our case, terrorism is bred not in some faraway land, but across from our border to the west. Our neighbor's expertise is not restricted to spawning grounds for terrorism, is also an expert in trying to mask malevolence with verbal duplicity. The most startling evidence of this duplicity was the fact that Osama bin Laden, the architect and ideologue of 9/11, was given safe haven in Pakistan. America had declared Osama bin Laden its most dangerous enemy and had launched an exhaustive worldwide search to bring him to justice. What America perhaps could not comprehend was that Osama would get sanctuary in a country that claimed to be America's friend and ally, that is Pakistan. Eventually, it's because of America's intelligence services discovered the truth of this hypocrisy, and its special forces delivered justice. But Pakistan continued to behave as if nothing had happened. Pakistan's commitment to terrorism as an instrument of official policy has not abated one bit. Neither has its belief in its hypocrisy. The killers of 9/11 met their fate, but the mastermind of 26/11, Hafiz Saeed, still roams the street of Pakistan with impunity. What is heartening is that the world is no longer ready to believe Islamabad. That is why FATF has put Pakistan on notice over terror funding. Madam President, we are accused of sabotaging the process of talks with Pakistan. This is a complete lie. We believe that talks are the only rational means to resolve even the most complex of disputes. That is why we had begun talks with Pakistan many times. If they stopped each time, it was only because of Pakistan's own behavior. There have been many governments in India by many different parties. Each government has tried the peace option. Prime Minister Modi, by inviting all the heads of the SAARC nations to his swearing-in ceremony, began his attempt for dialogue on his very first day in office. But on 9th December 2016, I personally went to Islamabad and offered a comprehensive bilateral dialogue. But soon after that, Pakistan-sponsored terrorists attacked our Air Force base in Pathankot on 2nd January. Please explain to me how we could pursue talks in the midst of terrorist bloodshed. Even now, after the new government came into power, the Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, wrote to Prime Minister Modi suggesting a meeting between foreign ministers in New York. We even accepted the proposal. But within few hours of our acceptance, news came that terrorists had killed 3 of our security personnel. Does this indicate a desire for dialogue? Can such a dialogue ever take place? Or should such a dialogue ever take place? Time and again, Madam President, Pakistan accuses India of human rights violation. Who can be a greater transgressor of human rights than a terrorist? Those who take innocent lives in pursuit of war by other means are defenders of inhuman behavior, not of human rights. Pakistan glorifies killers. It refuses to see the blood of innocent. It has become something of a habit with Pakistan to throw the dust of deceit and deception against India in order to provide some thin cover for its own guilt. The United Nations has seen this before. Madam President, last year, Pakistan's representative, using her right to reply, had displayed some photographs as proof of human rights violation by India. The photograph actually turned out to be from some other country. Similar false accusations have become a part of standard rhetoric. Madam President, each year for the last 5 years, India has been arguing from this podium that lists are not enough to check terrorists and their protectors. We need to bring them to accountability through international law. India, in 1996, proposed a draft document on CCIT at the United Nations. Till today, that draft has remained a draft, and that has remained a draft only because we cannot agree on a common language. On the one hand, we want to fight terrorism. On the other hand, we cannot even define it. This is why terrorists with a price on their head are celebrated in Pakistan. They are called freedom fighters. And those terrorists, their cruelty and barbarism are advertised as heroism. The country, Pakistan, prints postage stamps glorifying such terrorists. How long can we sit quiet and listen to these kind of acts? We have to act now. We will have to deal with, or otherwise it will convert into conflagration. And this demon will have a huge impact which will result in conflagration of the entire world. Once again, I appeal to this august body through you to come to an agreement soon on CCIT as one of the necessary measures in a long-running war and pass it. Madam President, I would now like to say something about United Nations. I began by highlighting the unique and positive role of the United Nations. But I must add that step by slow step, the importance, its influence, its respect and value of this institution is beginning to ebb. It is time to wonder if we are wandering towards the fate of the League of Nations. The League of Nations came to an end because it did not adopt the changes that were needed. It was unwilling to accept the need for reforms, but we must not make that mistake. The United Nations must accept that it needs fundamental reform. And the reforms cannot just be cosmetic. We need to change the institution's head and heart to make both compatible to contemporary reality. Reforms must begin today. Tomorrow could be too late. Do you think that the challenges that were before the United Nations at that time are being understood today? I feel that in the Security Council now, we must start making the changes that are much needed. Madam President, one subject which is being debated most is multilateralism. The challenges that we face before them is causing a tension to a lot of people, a lot of countries. Madam President, I would like to say that India believes that the whole world is one family, meaning Earth, which is Vasudha, Ekutumbakam meaning family, and Vasudev Kutumbakam means we are a global family. The whole world is a family. And that is why Vasudev Kutumbakam means that United Nations should also run like a family, on the principles of a family. How does a family run? A family runs on love, not on any kind of trade. It runs with compassion, not with jealousy. It goes with compromise, not with fighting. And that is why we must say that the United Nations must run on the principles of a family. In United Nations, we cannot say this is me, mine, and I. This forum is us, our, and my, and ours. And it should run on those principles only. Only then it can sustain. India does not want that from this forum only some countries should get their goals fulfilled, or that we should take decisions for other countries that are not beneficial to them. We should keep every country's goals in perspective. Madam President, this year we are celebrating the 150th birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma's favorite devotional song or hymn was Vaishnav Janato Tene Kahiye, which means that, in a sense, that a person who understands the pain of another and absorbs it as his own is a good human being. He who sees this pain and helps without becoming arrogant is a good human being. Madam President, we have to make this assembly into a platform of understanding, assistance, and true justice. We have to understand that the pain of other nations and work with developed nations to eliminate this pain. Arrogance has no place in a scheme of things. Arrogance is counterproductive and self-defeating. Let us work for the benefit of the less fortunate. A world which is free from terrorism, tension, and violence. This is a universe that we have envisaged. With this wish in my mind, I would end with a shloka from Sanskrit, which says, may all experience well-being, may all experience peace, may all move towards perfection. It means may all experience well-being, may all experience peace, may all move towards perfection, may all enjoy prosperity, may all achieve serenity. With this, I would like to end my speech. Thank you very much. Greetings. Namaskar.
I thank Her Excellency Sushma Swaraj, Minister of External Affairs of India, for her statement. And I now give the floor to His Excellency Walid Al-Mualem, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs and Expatriates from the Syrian Arab Republic. You have the floor, His Excellency.